Now, of course, the converse of this, or the sort of dark side of it, is really represented by the figure of Faust and figures like Friedrich Nietzsche, who was also born and who lived during one of the transits of Neptune through Aries. He was born in 1844 and died in 1900. So he was around for the last tour of Neptune through Aries, during the second half of the 19th century. And so this would have been very formative for him as a teen in his adult years, and may well have influenced, his own views. He was sort of very into this idea of like individual will and almost sort of like applying it to bend reality, which is very similar to the way that a lot of magicians get, especially if they get inflated, similar to Faust. And so I think that that is something that we need to be a little bit careful of, that in this kind of quest for individual sovereignty and realizing the potential of the individual in the form of things like the Ubermensch, we try to become like gods instead of working with the gods. And in that sense, we can have failed initiations where we sort of have we make these declarations that God is dead, which is very nihilistic. And we are seeing a lot of that already. Again, particularly with, hand in hand with things like transhumanism and these very nihilistic forms of philosophy that are coming out of places like Silicon Valley. So I think one of the downsides, the thing that we need to watch is this kind of inflation, this Faustian inflation, where we get too obsessed with imposing our will on reality instead of working with or co-creating reality and working for the collective good instead of just for our own selfish purposes or ends. Like, if you think about Aleister Crowley towards the end of his career, that's certainly not something to aspire to, where you are sort of becoming quite power hungry and you're wanting to sort of like dictate to others what their reality should be like. That's kind of when you're kind of getting into dangerous territory. And I think the other thing to sort of be aware of is, the potential for self-absorption within the New Age movement, that, that it can sort of descend into this Promethean-like vision of some where, the self becomes all, and where we can sort of get into this idea of you create your own reality and therefore reality doesn't exist outside of ourselves. And we don't have to sort of like conform to society or be considerate of others. And so it can devolve into narcissism.